Welcome to the Fat Cow Butcher's Talk. Today we are going to show you how to cook roast beef from deer with our dear friend Shannon, representing Mountain River, where the meat comes from. So tell me, what are you going to do with this roast beef?
We're just going to cook it like a steak. So the wonderful thing about this Mountain River, the rump, the roast beef as you call it here in Sweden, the size of it is fantastic. And everything has been denuded already. So when you buy from Mountain River, you don't have any of the silver skin that you have to deal with normally when you buy a product like this. As you can see, perfectly clean.
It is.
And also they've taken the time and effort to take off. There's usually a bit of connective tissue underneath the rump. They take that away as well.
Yeah.
So you're not buying weight you don't need. You're buying exactly just pure meat. So we just pop that over there. So if you look at the rump, what you have is essentially two muscles. There's one large muscle here, one on the side, it's a bit smaller, and a long seam that runs down the middle. So a lot of people, they worry about the seam and they think, oh, no, I don't want to eat the seam and I don't want to have it in my mouth. It's like a kind of bad texture. You don't have to worry about it. It's so tender, this Mountain River venison, that we can just slice that afterwards and eat it like a steak.
And we will show that after we have cooked it, yeah?
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah. I just need to clean my hands.
So now we are going to cook it.
Yep, yeah? Yep, right. So the important thing to remember about venison in general, especially venison from New Zealand, it's a very lean meat, so it has absolutely no fat. You know, we have more fat in chicken and poultry than we do in venison. Okay. Makes it the most healthy of all the meats you can eat. It has the highest source of vitamin, iron, amino acids, and so on. Yeah. It's actually quite close to tuna fish when you're talking about amino acids and so on. So, it's really, really healthy meat, but if you're going to cook it in a pan or on the barbecue, you have to introduce a little bit of fat. So, what's that? Oh, baby. Is this beautiful? I love this stuff.
It's clarified butter.
We just put a bit of oil on the meat. Always oil the meat and not the pan. If you oil the pan, the oil will burn. So make sure you use the oil on the meat, and we'll just turn it over a couple of times to make sure it gets a nice coating. Okay. And then we've got this beautiful, how do you say that? Smör?
Smör. Clarified butter. Klarifierat smör in Swedish.
What a wonderful language, really.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a brutal language.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It sounds like water over pebbles in a stream.
You think so?
Yeah, I do actually. So anyway, so we take this rump, and from the thickness of it, if we hold it up, you'll see it's really the thickness of a really nice steak.
Yeah, it is.
We've got a beautiful coating of oil on there, so we can't dry it out in the pan. We've got a nice hot pan here, and then we just drop it in.
You can hear the searing.
That is the sound we want.
Exactly.
You know?
It's good.
Beautiful.
And the seasoning, what do you use?
We're just going to use salt and pepper.
Yeah?
We're not here to... It's a bit hard for them to taste the barbecue rub through the camera anyway. So we'll just keep it nice and simple. Liberal amount of salt on your meat. Can help with the caramelization is that when you put a bit of salt onto the meat, that does draw out a little bit of the moisture, and then you can have a better caramelization on your meat because the juices of the meat come out and caramelize in the pan.
Great.
So once we've set it off on all sides, then we can use the smør,
the clarified butter,
and spoon that over and really finish it.
Great. And the clarified butter is really good because we have taken away all the water, the protein, so it doesn't burn. Fantastic. It handles higher heat in the pan also, so that's good.
That's exactly what we want. So this is a wonderful cut on the barbecue. You know, for a few people, two. I mean, for me on my own, maybe. I don't know about you. And the thing is, you can eat as much of that as you want. It's pure protein. There's no fat in there, so it's super healthy. Yeah.
And it looks great. And it really looks like a steak. Yeah. The size of it, the thickness of it. So
it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful product.
And you just leave it. You don't poke around. You just let it stay in the pan. Yeah. Don't turn it over and over again.
No. Just leave it alone, because what you want is you want it to start to take on that heat. If you keep moving it, you're not reaching that point of caramelization. No, exactly. So a lot of people, they fuss around with things too much.
Yeah? Don't fuss around.
Yeah, don't fuss around, or we'll find you. So yeah, one of my first head chefs, he was a French guy, and he would always come up to me and just go, just leave it alone. You know, just let it happen. In the pan, let the pan do the work.
That's great.
So in New Zealand, it's all. Why New Zealand venison?
Exactly.
It's all farm raised.
Yeah.
The animals in New Zealand. We are the world leaders in the farming of deer.
Yeah.
But in New Zealand, they have the perfect habitat. So they live outside, beautiful weather, grass fed.
All year around.
All year round.
Exactly.
And they can be grass fed all year round as well. So we're not having to supplement their feed. We don't have them inside, keeping them warm somewhere. There's a lot of questions around, you know, the shipment of them over to Europe. But
beautiful.
the energy used to farm animals in places like Europe is actually higher than the energy we use to farm animals in New Zealand and bring them on a boat.
Okay.
Because we don't have to keep them warm. We don't have to ship grain from here to there. They're just on a field, they eat grass, then they go on the boat and off they go. You know? So a wonderful, simple process. In New Zealand, you know, like if it's complicated, we try to make it simple. That's I live in Germany. It's the total opposite. It's really...
Yeah, but New Zealand, keep it simple. Kiss the meat.
Yeah, keep it... Yeah, exactly. So we'll just put a little bit of salt on that side as well.
Yeah, great. And it looks good. It looks really good.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful piece.
So we are talking about the roast beef from the deer, the venison, from New Zealand. Of course, it's the meat from Mountain River, our partner in crime concerning deer meat. And of course Shannon, famous chef, traveling around all over the world talking about meat from New Zealand.
That's a real privilege, my job. I love my job. Yeah. And Mountain River is a wonderful company. It's a small family company. It's not really small, but it's like specialized in deer.
Yeah.
So their whole speciality is deer meat from New Zealand, which makes them really innovative, which is why they have like this wonderful wide range of cuts. And normally when you were to buy something like a leg piece of venison from somewhere around in the area maybe, you just get this big poof on the table. You know, what do I do with this? Whereas here, they've done all the work for you, so when you open the pack, you can buy just this. You don't have to buy the whole leg or this.
No, and they also clean up, they cut it,
completely
clean.
Yeah, you're not spending your afternoon taking off silver skin and things like that.
Exactly.
So we're just going to add a bit of the smør.
The smør.
Wonderful, wonderful language.
Sounds like the Swedish chef in Muppet Show.
Actually, I watched that. I was doing a bit of market research before I came here. And he's not speaking anything that sounds like Swedish. It's hilarious. He sounds more Polish.
Yeah. But that's how people think it sounds in their ears when they hear the Swedish people talk. So yeah, but it's funny anyway.
So we'll just spoon that over. Keep the fat content high on the surface of the meat.
I can't wait to taste it.
Oh, me neither. We're going to turn it over again. We're going to turn it over 2 times.
Yeah. And you haven't moved it. This is the second time you flip it.
Yeah.
And it has this great, marvelous surface, and it's not burnt.
No, not burnt. You know, we'll do that twice, and then we're going to let it rest.
Yeah.
And why resting? I mean, you know why, but a lot of people don't know why they should rest their meat. And this is the biggest mistake you can make with a steak, or any kind of meat, or a turkey, or a chicken. It all has to rest, because when you cook the meat, the fibers in the meat, the small connective tissues, it shrinks.
Yeah.
So you have to imagine it that it's like when you tense a muscle.
Yeah.
And when I tense my muscles, not a lot happens. But when you tense your, there we go.
It doesn't happen anything.
So it's under pressure.
Yeah.
And all the juice inside is in this elastic pressure in the steak. Now, it's like if you're squeezing a bottle of plastic bottle of water, if you open the lid,
it will
the juice comes
run
out.
over, yeah.
So you have to let the meat rest. The elasticity relaxes in the meat, and then you can cut it, and you won't have this gush of juice.
No, exactly. And then it becomes dry.
It becomes
dry. You don't
dry.
have the juiciness of the meat anymore.
Yeah, it's all over the plate, not in the steak. Oh, look at that. It gives a lovely crust. It is. The colour.
It's really beautiful.
Beautiful.
That is.
Goes well. Wonderful with this Mountain River venison.
Looks good. And it's a good portion size.
Wonderful, yeah.
So I cannot wait to cut it into small pieces and try to taste it.
You won't have to try very hard. So, do we have a small bit of aluminium foil or something to rest it on, or just a plate?
We can just put it on the plate. But this is cold one. Maybe I should just heat it up with some water so it doesn't get cold.
Beautiful. So we made a wonderful, look at the crust on that. Wonderful. So it's venison as well. So you really want to eat it rare, medium rare, medium at the most. Well done.
That's great.
Forget it. You know.
Shannon, now we have made the roast beef.
Yeah.
Cooked it.
Yeah.
And it has been resting for
about at least 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be good, nice to wrap it up in a bit of foil and just let it rest. Or you can have an oven, just set the oven at 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Drop it in there and then nothing can go
Or
wrong.
butcher's paper. We actually use butcher's paper also.
Fantastic.
That could be good.
Yeah, anything to kind of cover it up.
Now we should look how it looks inside this beautiful piece of deer meat.
The texture of the rump is the softest of all of the parts that you can take from the leg.
Yeah.
So it's just wonderful, soft, beautiful meat. You can see here you've got the grain.
Yeah.
You have 2 grains
Yeah,
on
exactly.
the rump.
Yeah.
You'll notice here it runs this way and here we're running this way.
Yeah.
So we can either separate it in half, like this.
Great.
And we'll just take this.
And then we
take this one.
Take it so we are sure to cut it against the...
Exactly, yeah. And then we can just lovely thin slices. Hold it a bit. Cut it down.
Great.
A bit of extra salt over it. And the colours come up.
Yeah, I can see
Beautiful.
that. And I will just use some gourmet salt, like that.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the...
So the seam here.
Seam inside?
Yeah. So if you're feeling picky, you can just take your knife, slice that main chunk off.
Yeah.
And what you're left with is essentially something like a beautiful fillet, you know?
Looks like this. It's really, really beautiful. And it feels tender, even if you haven't tried it yet. So,
yeah. Oh,
should we try it?
I think we should.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Again,
with a fork.
Take a fork. And you saw my fingers in the food, so I'm not picky.
So I even took the piece which had a big seam running through it, and I do not notice it in my mouth. You cannot feel that seam. Because
Me neither.
The seam inside there is so thin, so tender, you wouldn't even notice it.
No.
No?
You can just see it, but you don't taste it.
No, yeah. And the flavour, fantastic. You wouldn't, with your eyes closed, think that's venison if your experience of venison is a weekend at grandma and that sort of really smelly old stag that maybe got cooked. This is a world apart, completely different.
You can actually imagine it's been raised and just eat grass. It's grass all the time, nothing else.
And the trick is, we bring them to the slaughterhouse before they reach an age of maturity. So once they become mature enough to make babies, the flavour of the meat changes. So we want to avoid that. So it's really important that we have young deer, and we always slaughter by carcass weight. So some deer in the north grow a little faster than the ones in the south. It's slightly warmer weather, and maybe the grass has got more protein and more inside of it for the animals. So by slaughtering by carcass weight, we can be sure that each portion of meat is exactly the same size, because every animal started at the same size. So,
and that's good.
You always get the same. Yeah.
It's easier to cook also. If
Yeah.
you have two different.
That was dead easy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2 times each side, 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. Let it rest. Slice that on a table in front of the family.
Yeah. And we just
Friends
use
forever.
salt and pepper
Yeah.
in the pan, and we of course use some butter. This time it was the clarified butter.
That's fantastic.
Just to put some extra taste on the meat, but
Yeah.
it's really, really marvelous. It's
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
and juicy.
Yeah.
Tastes really well.
Yeah.
And we just eat it like this with
Yeah.
nothing else
No.
to go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
I mean, you can serve that any way you like, but wonderful stuff. And on the barbecue, same thing. On the barbecue, 2 times,
Yeah.
No.
The
Not
same-
too long on one side, you'll dry it out, but long enough to get a crust.
Yeah.
Switch.
But it should be resting. You shouldn't flip it and flip it and flip it like
No,
you
no.
did in the pan.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave it for 2 minutes,
Yeah.
turn it, and
Yeah.
then you turn it again.
Yeah. You need,
Rest for 6 to 10 minutes,
Yeah.
salt, pepper,
Yeah.
finished.
Yeah. You need to let things happen.
Great.